Dragon Ballers, if you're looking to buy Dragon Ball Super or One Piece sealed product, make sure to get 5% off using my link to Mystic TCG down in the description. You can also sell cards to them using their Facebook link, which is also down in the description. Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? We are here with Daryl to profile his second place deck from the Top Cut Regional. So firstly, Daryl, how's it going, man?
Good. How about yourself?
I am doing good, man. Thanks for joining us today. So first and foremost, I want to know why you played 21. I think this leader is super good. I mean, there's been talks of like this being tier 0, this being trash tier. I think it's like, tier 1, like maybe 1.5. I don't think it's like super overwhelming. But I want to know your thoughts on it and why you played the leader.
So, for everybody, most people know me. I'm like a control player by nature. So, I love blue in general. And then like my favorite color combination is blue-green. So when they came out with 21 and they revealed like most of the cards for that, I was like, oh yeah, I definitely got to play this deck. And especially when I saw the secret rare, I was like, that card is nuts. Like that's the control player's dream card. So it just fit my play style. So I was like, yeah, I definitely have to give this deck a try.
Gotcha. So literally perfect fit for you. That's pretty cool to hear. Yeah, leader super strong. Real quick, I want to get your thoughts on one more thing. So, do you think it's fair to say that this deck just like, for the most part, smashes other blue decks, but sometimes struggles against aggro? What are your thoughts on the matchup spread for this deck?
For blue, I think you're heavily favored. You just do a lot of things that the other blue decks can't do. And you get to utilize their battle cards for your actual color pips. So, against other decks, it's like, okay, I got tap your battle cards for colorless, but against blue decks, you're like, all right, I can tap your one battle card for my one drop 21. So you're just getting so much extra value because they're blue.
Right.
And blue doesn't put on enough aggro early in the game to really make 21 feel like they're pressured enough to lose the game. Against aggro, I didn't really struggle much against aggro throughout the day. 21, the secret rare just kind of allows you to go down to like 3 life and then go back up to 5.
Yeah.
So like aggro can be rough depending on the style of aggro deck. So like the go big aggro decks where they're dropping like 30k triple strikes for like 2 energy and stuff like that. That can be rough. But for the most part, I think like even those aggro matches aren't that bad. More is like a 50-50, 60-40 kind of thing, which can go either direction.
Right, not wildly losable or anything like that. Gotcha.
Right.
All right, cool. So let's take a look at the main board. We start with 4 copies of Mandatory Gathering. So I've been going back and forth myself on this card versus Speedy Sub. I feel like in the aggro matchups, giving your opponent the clone token is kind of annoying because it's just one less life you have, basically.
Right.
But in all the other matchups, this card's great because it gives you more energy to play with. So what are your thoughts on this versus like Speedy Sub?
So I hate this card.
Nice.
It's a liability.
Right.
Because like you said, against aggro, it gives them another battle card to attack you with. And against, if you're going first and you play this first on your turn 1, and then your opponent goes and then plays Dark Power Mass Sand, you got to drop 2 cards.
Right.
And so now you can set yourself back. And like, unless you can get their Dark Power Mass Sand off within the first couple turns, it kind of stifles your growth of building your board and doing the things that you want to do. So I'm going to try Speedy Sub over this. The only reason why I like 21 better is because it searches any blue. So like if I want to grab the 4-drop mono blue, I can do that, or I can grab the Android 17 negate. So that's like the only reason why I like it slightly, but I really don't like it because it's a liability.
Gotcha. Alrighty, let's go ahead into Defending Friends. Makes a ton of sense. This card's broken. Pan, also broken in this deck. So 2 Zeno and 2 Vegeta. So what I found very interesting was you were playing this super combo split, and the first place list was playing 4 Bionic Blitz. So it just goes to show like how different this deck can be built in general.
Right.
What are your thoughts on all the different super combos?
So like Zeno is just broken. So like you just charge cards that like early game, like you're charging Android 18 because it ignores energy exhaust, and you're charging the 21 because it ignores energy exhaust. But later in the game, those become super relevant. So when you're in the late game and you need a counterplay or you need to kill something mid battle, you could pick up the 18 and just like, gotcha your opponent. And some people expect it, some people don't. I thought about the Bionic Blitz and the other, was it Android 1718 untapped energy one?
Yep.
But you're not really doing a lot of arrivaling. So
Right.
It's like, I didn't really feel the need for those. And like, if you're going against like an aggressive deck, you want to replace the cards in your hand.
Yep.
So like comboing and then like getting rid of one card out of their hand, it just didn't do nothing for me, in my opinion. But like all day, I love the 2-2 split. Had no issues or ever wanted a different one.
Yeah, no, I'm in total agreement. I find this deck generally be like more of just like almost like a blue baby, like where you just like floodgate as much as you can, and like you want to have super combos to draw cards. You're not doing too much arrivaling, like you said. I kind of agree. The secret rare in this deck, absolutely insane. Like the ability to gain 2 life is actually absurd. It's funny too. This card in Gamma, a little bit off topic, but going back to 8 life is hilarious. I think they kind of balance this deck by making it a leader that has to take life.
Right.
So you can't just like be at 8 life the entire game. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she was like overperformed like the entire event. Like she won me every match, to be honest. Like just resetting my life. It was just absurd.
Yeah, card's pretty unfair. And the fact that the leader finds it so easily is crazy. Then we have Android 21 Total Audacity. So this card I think is just a staple in the deck at this point. Like worst case scenario, tap 2, draw 2, and ideally use 2 of your opponent's cards. One card I want to ask you about that I don't believe you played, that the first place list did play, was I believe it's called Unwavering Will, the 4-drop counterplay. I think that card's only good in like blue mirrors. The first place player told me that it's great all the time. I was curious about your thoughts on it.
Yeah, originally I had it in my list and I just found it underwhelming. Like I just found everything else does what you want better. Like the draw 2 is super important against like almost every match. Because if you fall behind in 21 and you don't see your secret rare, like it's going to be hard for you to come back. Especially like if you don't have negates or you don't have your super combos, like you're stuck with a bunch of 10Ks and potentially, not a lot of energy to work with.
Right.
So I just found the card underwhelming. Like,
yeah, I generally agree. Like I said, except for blue mirrors, I think it's very good. Like they play Piccolo, counter window 2, cool counterplay. But outside of that, it's a little bit tough to use in my opinion. But maybe there's something that I don't know. But anyways, 4 copies of full power counter makes a ton of sense. I find myself like not able to use this card like all the time. It's mostly just for the check land. How often did you actually resolve this card as a floodgate?
Over the weekend, probably twice.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy for sure.
Right, and most of the time you do it is like your opponent attacks wrong, and you get to tap one of their battle cards or multiple depending on the color matchup. But yeah, for the most part, like if I did play it, I played it on my own turn.
Gotcha. Yeah, still killing something ignoring barrier, super solid.
Yeah.
2 copies of Bad Omen. So how often were you ending games with this? I think a lot of lists don't play it because you can't play it out of the energy, but still, I mean, tap 5, burn 1 is still really good.
I want this card at 3. This card won me probably like 3 out of the 7 matches that I played, and every match I was like looking for it. It was like, man, if I had 2 in my hand, I win the game right now. So I love the card. Like, yeah, I don't see like why you wouldn't play at least 2 copies in the main.
Gotcha.
Because like you're already swinging with like 20K, 25K double strikes, whether it's your 8-drop or your 4-drop, a 20K double strike, your secret rare swinging dual attack 40K. Your opponent's not gonna be the out combo most of those, so they will take themselves down to 2 or 1, and then you're just like, all right, Android 21, kill you.
Right. Yeah. No, the guaranteed thing, that's very control oriented. So yeah, it makes a ton of sense to me for sure. 4 measures of strength, more energy, 2 power claim. I think is really good in this deck. Like you can't play it during your own turn, but being able to play during your opponent's turn can be super clutch. I noticed you're not playing Goku Black, right? Any particular reason for that?
I feel like that card is good, but good in aggressive blue decks. Like it's not really a control card. And the way I have my deck built is more of a control deck. So I felt like the Gohan was just much better because it hits any energy cost battle instead of just, I think it's what, 4 or 5.
4 or less, yep.
Yeah, so like I just felt like this one's much better, and I typically have 2 to 3 energy up every passing turn every time. So like it was just easy, or I charge it and then just pick it up with Zeno and then play it during their turn and kill their whatever they're swinging in with.
Gotcha. All right, 4 copies of Ceaseless Despair. Now, my opinion, this card alone is the reason that every deck should play like 2 Cunnings in the main. Right. So I'm curious, how often did you come across Cunning, and how did it make you like change your play, if at all?
So I ran against Cunning probably 5 out of 7 rounds, and it did nothing.
So you just cast this card no problem, or?
Right. I would literally just tap their board. Like most of the time I had at least like gave them like 2 pans, so I'm literally tapping 5 of their battle cards and 3 of my energy. So like I'm still having like 3 to 4 energy up every turn when I do play it.
Right.
And then I wipe their board. And then now if they want to negate, they got to discard 2. And like if I have, like I think against Marcus, like I was able to untap 2 energy because I had 10 cards in battle in my drop. So it was like it just reset. So it can slow it down. So like you won't play it like on the turn where you would tap out unless like you're dead next turn.
Right.
But for the most part, the Cunning cards just didn't do anything against it.
For sure. Like I feel like you still got to play the Cunnings because like untapping 5 is just wildly broken, right?
Yeah.
So like you got to play the Cunnings just to keep this card like somewhat tame. But that's the cool thing about 21 too, is that you can't really play Overwhelm. So that's the best use of your drop area, is to just fuel this card under Cunning. It's kind of cool. All right, 1 Dirty Burst just for, big bombs that we don't want to deal with. 3 Beerus and 3 Senzu Beans. Oh, so I remember this from the meta breakdown. So you're playing a little bit more of a combo centric 21 for sure. How did this package end up working for you without like the UI Kamehamehas and maybe some of the other like Crimson type stuff?
Like I've been a big fan of Beerus Destroy since it came out. Like the card just like I was saying like in the comments, like when you're playing against like Red, for example, like you have no problems dealing with their big battle cards because they're dropping 1, like tapping a bunch of energy, unless it's like Red Gogeta. You're stifling all their big threats. So what they do is turn into like the low aggressive by bringing out like the Vegeta Z battle card, and you're just like, right. So like it forces them to either like give it a barrier right when they play it, or swing and then get hit with Beerus Ball. But it also replaces itself, and it's a 10k. And I'm always constantly having open energy, so I'm not losing cards, and that's the plus about the card. Like I'm getting 10k, I'm bottom decking potential 2 drop or less, and I'm replenishing that card that I use. And then 3 Senzu Bean is just, it's really against those decks like Blue, for example. Like they're constantly swinging at you for 15, 20. So like instead of having to waste a lot of resources comboing, like I could just go a bean here and like stifle people's turns, and if I need the energy to like play the Gohan or rival in the Android 18, it helps me get people, because like people will sometimes forget like, oh, he's tapped down to 1 energy. I'm good to go in with this threat, and then you're just like, no, I got you. Like you just wasted all that combo and everything.
Right. 4D Magic, of course. I also like D Magic more than Unstoppable Technique. Just like the extra energy is more valuable than the clone token.
Right.
1 Chilled Army. So not being able to use it on the unawakened side, but I can still see the value in it, like being on your awakened side. And then just, being able to stop like a clutch double or triple strike makes a ton of sense. And the 1 Boo. So I guess we'll go right into the sideboard, because I wanted to ask you a question about this. So you are playing 2 Raditz in the side deck, which, I mean, sideboard best of 1, your side is basically your main. So what are the matchups where you wanted to bring in like this extra defensive unison?
So I actually brought that in against like the blue matches, any non-yellow match really, like because in yellow they just tap it. So like against like blue, I brought it in against Marcus. I brought it in against Red Gogeta. So it just like either forces them to attack it, and which is fine because like now I'm not losing resources. Like, and if they don't attack it, like I have a double blocker and I'm netting a card every turn. And so, and since it's a 19K, it forces them to waste cards to get rid of it unless they're swinging with a card that's 20K or more.
Right. And then the one sense of being just ratio fixing, same thing with Dirty Burst. Steadfast Ally, I'm assuming this was to do some like arrival shenanigans with your SCR. Does that sound about right?
Right. Yeah, so like against like the SC, like to hit people with like the SCR, or like if they're going in like they take themselves down to 1, I can rival in the Android 21 Bad Omen, and then just like kill them during battle.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And it's good against like the control decks too. So like if you're playing a slow game and they go on for the last attack for the turn, you play this, bring out whichever 21, and then now you have a 25K double striker plus whatever you played.
Yeah, and having the ability to search your Bad Omen too actually on this card is insane, because you're talking about wanting to play more copies. This is almost like an extra copy of it, which is kind of cool. All right, you explained to me about striving, and with you talking here, it makes a lot more sense. Basically, you're prepared for their large attackers, and this card is going to be able to allow you to just stall out their rush attacks and their low to the ground stuff. That makes a lot more sense now. Piccolo assimilated ability and OG tech for anti-aggro. This is pretty cool, and because we ramp on 2, we can play this on 3, right? So just killing all the little guys that swing during battle. Makes a lot of sense. Kusu. I feel like this card might have been a low-key MVP. What were your thoughts on this card?
Yeah, so like I sided it in almost every match. Like I was like, man, I should have just had this card in my main deck. But I think like the main deck was still like structured the way I wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. But like this card definitely overperformed. Like it forced people to like waste counter plays on it instead of like the other threats like playing the Z battle card and stuff like that. So they were wasting it on Kusu, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Untap, drop my 8-drop bomb, and so like making them waste cards and resources. But yeah, the card overperformed. Just like you're hitting a card out of their hand and you're getting rid of a 6-drop or less, like on their turn. Like it overperformed
for sure. And then final question: how many people's days did you ruin with Perfect Force Cell?
Actually, none. Like I had a chance to play it, but I just had a better option. I was playing against Boma, and like I just literally like Boma couldn't do anything because like you just continuously tap their battle cards for energy, so they have no blockers, and then you're just like hitting them with the secret rare. They just can't keep up. But this was like a good option against like those slower control decks, to where they're sitting there with like 10 plus cards and they think they're safe. And then you just tap 7 for Perfect Force, because especially with their no God ceiling, like this card is just it's nuts when you're ramping.
For sure. All right, man. So that is going to go through the whole deck. I appreciate you giving us the detailed explanations. So any final shout outs you want to throw out there?
Just shout out to my boys from Virginia, Maryland. Shout out to you for letting me come on your channel and do this deck tech. And just a shout out to all the people that came to have my back, because I kept having a disconnected 3 times during the final round. People were like, it's kind of suspect, but most people know me. No, I'm not about that life. I don't need to cheat. Like I'll give people the win. And yeah. So shout out to all the people that have my back. Saying that I'm a good dude and stuff like that. But
yeah, man. Sometimes stuff just happens. But Daryl, thank you for your time, man. And I will see you next time.
All right, man. Appreciate it.